Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, Three Principles practitioner, Adey-Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading Three Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to have Marina Galán with me today. Marina is a Three Principles coach and training professional working with individuals, groups, and organizations in different parts of the world. For the last few years, she has been mentoring coaches who work from the Three Principles perspective take their game to a new level. She is the founder of the Three Principles in Spanish, a multi-platform project that brings the Three Principles understanding to the Spanish community worldwide. She also co-hosts two podcasts, one in Spanish, in which she explores the nature of the Three Principles, and one in English, in which she explores the roots and expressions of mysticism in modern life. Welcome, Marina. So lovely to see you. We've been talking about this for quite a while, so I'm really glad we managed to make it happen finally.
Finally, it's been a while, Del.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your life, your journey, and what led you to coming across the principles.
Okay.
So basically, another way of putting it, a little bit of background as to how you found the principles.
Right. Okay. Well, I was forced into the principles. That is the truth.
Really? Oh, this is going to be good.
That's not the usual story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that's how it was for me. So I had always loved learning and studying and, looking at new perspectives. Ever since I was very, very young, I started, devouring philosophy books and anything I could get my hands on. So mysticism and Sufism and all sorts of things. And I considered myself to be quite knowledgeable, to tell you the truth. And one day, my ex-husband found a book in a spa that, talked about beautiful things and happiness. And so we became really interested in happiness, and we started asking, people we knew and our friends, like, what is happiness to you? How do you go about it? Do you build it? Do you construct it? Do you find it? And we started hosting these dinner parties in which those were the conversations. That was it. And so eventually we started investigating the guy that had written the book. Mm-hmm. And we discovered that he was one of the happiness experts in the world. Who knew there was something like that? And we decided to go study with him. And so we went. And you know how it is, Del. One teacher leads you to another teacher, leads you to another teacher, like the breadcrumbs of the forest. And this guy eventually led us to the principles with another teacher.
Yeah.
Now, my ex-husband completely fell in love with this teacher, right? And he was like, oh my God, this is so perfect. Let's study this. Let's do it together. And I was really upset. It was like, you haven't studied anything in your life, I've been at this for decades. And suddenly the first thing you find, you think it's, the last Coke in the desert, and you want to shove it down my throat. I don't think so. So I developed a rather repulsive reaction to the principles. But very slowly, I started, listening and hearing, and I started separating the messenger from the message and really trying to see what was being said behind it. And I started hearing things that I had found in other traditions, if we can call them that. And it started making sense. And what was really interesting was that suddenly, I was imagining that I was being given one more piece of the puzzle. But in reality, what happened was that suddenly a lot of the pieces that I was trying to fit together didn't make sense anymore. So it was like, oh, there are less pieces. The puzzle is much simpler than I thought it was. So we can get rid of all that and just focus on what is essential. And eventually I really saw how this pointed to the most simple possibility around the puzzle. And that was it. My life was completely transformed. You know, I was very, very humbled by the whole experience, but it was beautiful. It was a nice slap in the face, if you want to see.
I love that story. You're right. Most people are like, "Oh my God, I found it," and it was like the elixir that I've been looking for all my life. So it's refreshing to know that we can find ourselves here. It doesn't matter the road that gets us here. I'm curious, was the happiness teacher Robert Holden by any chance?
It was, yes.
I studied with him too. So I was thinking, sounds familiar.
I love him to pieces. I am forever grateful to him.
Yeah, I love him. Absolutely. He's a beautiful man, really lovely. So I know I was just going to say too, my son calls the three principles Buddhism for dummies because it really just, it boils it down to, as you said, the essence. It just simplifies so many things that we've, heard over the years. So, so yeah, I know we came to this conversation completely sort of no subject in mind. So I'm just going to check in with you today. Is there anything that's sort of just up for you recently that you've seen fresh and new that you just love to talk about, or anything pops into your mind?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I know this happens to all of us, but not all of us have like the awareness that it is happening. But everyone I know that is somehow in the principles and the understanding is very happy to live with 2 or 3 questions at a time. Right? Like we just live the questions themselves and allow life to answer them slowly over days or weeks or even months, and show us like different aspects of it. And one of the questions that I have been living with recently is around freedom. Because a few days ago, a friend of mine, very nonchalantly handing me a cup of coffee, asked me, "So why are you so free? Does it have anything to do with what you know?" And the question kind of startled me. It sounded like pregnant with possibility. I was like, what do you mean? Why am I so free? What do you see that makes you say that? And as he started explaining, I was reflecting on the things he was saying. Was like, yeah, this is how people that are grounded in the principles really are. Like we do not become very attached to plans. We are very happy to just let go and improvise. We do not become attached to beliefs or ideas. We are very happy to question any belief or idea that we have at any given moment. We are not attached to people or concepts. We are very open to having what David Bohm calls a genuine dialogue, in which 2 people leave the certainties behind and actually allow themselves to entertain a different point of view. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. I am like that. And so I started going around talking to colleagues and friends that are grounded in the principles, asking them that question, like, so why are you so free? Like, do you think you are? And oh my God, Del, the questions that I have been getting are so beautiful. So beautiful. But what is really interesting is that they go from, yes, I have found absolute freedom in realizing that I am not free and I have surrendered to the will of the universe and God and the universal mind, to, oh yes, I have definitely realized that I am free, and I know that now. So I can express that in my life in a full variety of ways. And so reflecting around that, I really saw that part of my journey was about trust, trusting life. I want to develop trust in life. But slowly that trust has inevitably become a manifestation of freedom. I no longer see me and life as something separate that I need to learn to trust, but quite the opposite. Like I see now that we are the fabric of life itself. We are not separate. So how am I not going to trust life if I'm it? Like Robert Holden says, you're it. If you are life, if oneness, then everything, the universe, is on your side, right? And you can express that freedom even by choosing your own suffering, tailor-made to your own liking and preference, and you are free to attach yourself to it. I was listening to Sid talk about freedom, and he goes everywhere with it, like you are completely free and you are not completely free, like the same thing that has happened with the answers around colleagues and friends, but truly you see that we are in the world, in the realm of paradoxes. The world of truth is the realm of paradoxes in which both things are true at the same time. And he says at some point, you definitely have free will. And when you really understand free will, you see that there is no free will at all. Like there is just divine will. And you find this same concept and idea in every single tradition that you look at. And so I am left observing the world around me, observing especially my kids and how they are manifesting their freedom in every single moment. And I'm just floored by the beauty.
That's very beautiful. So how old are your children now?
My kids are 15, 13, and 12 now.
And how do they manifest their freedom?
Oh, they create all sorts of scenarios, and I was talking to someone earlier about how they are really reaching the age in which they enjoy sarcasm and they enjoy confrontation and they enjoy proving you wrong. And oh my God, it's such a manifestation of their freedom, like they are finding themselves and how they want to inhabit this moment, even if it means going against their mother or against each other. And the suffering that creates, or the joy that it creates, or both at the same time. It's amazing. Now, the same thing as with life, like I need to learn to trust life. I thought I needed to learn to trust my children. Because we are so prone to believe the idea that we need to teach them and we need to guide them and we know better. Our wisdom is the one that they should follow. And very, very early on in my path in the principles, I discovered that it was so not about that. That my exercise of motherhood was about helping them see their connection to their wisdom, and learning to, take my hands out of the equation and allow them to trust that.
I think that's one of the most beautiful gifts we can give to our children. I know that innocently, some, certainly in my circumstances growing up, that my what I experienced is the denial of my truth. I started to doubt my wisdom. It was telling me something, but my mother, well-intentioned, would say, no, that's not what you feel. That's not what's happening. And so for a number of years, I felt this sort of cognizant dissonance of like, well, do I believe her or do I believe what my wisdom's telling me? And so I was very, very aware of that I have 2 sons too. I know you have 3 sons, but very aware to really not mess with that relationship that they had with their own wisdom, to really honor that and support it, even if it went against what I would have thought was the right path for them. But I think ultimately that is the biggest gift we can give to our children.
And it's sometimes so difficult, no, Del, to trust, like, yes, do that. Don't listen to me. I will bite my tongue and let you, commit the mistake. Because I see that my job is not to prevent you from it, but to love you through it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautifully put. That is so true.
I don't need to bring the big lessons in life. Life brings the big lessons in life.
Exactly.
Like what? I have no idea of what they need to learn. How am I going to know what the important lessons for them are? I remember one of my kids, when he was very young, he used to lose everything down. Books, suitcases, sweaters, caps, glasses, shoes. He used to come home without a shoe. It's like, what are you doing? I was desperate, and I had tried everything, from trying to explain to him the value of things to shaming him, even. Finding something that would work. And one day I had this thought, like, how do you know that he's not going to go through horrible loss in his life? And you are teaching him to feel responsible for it.
Wow. Yeah.
So, like, really, hands off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I was very fortunate when my children were around your age to have actually, before I came across the principles, but a therapist who he was so wonderful, and he was like, no, your job's just to love them. Life teaches them the lessons. And if you keep trying to teach them sort of after a certain age, like 15 or so, he said, you're just nagging. He said, they know your values. They know, what you would like for them. So just basically sit back, unconditional love, and allow life, and life will teach them. And you need to be there to just support them and love them through that. And I think it was the best parenting advice I ever got.
Man, you're lucky, right, to have gotten that.
Yeah, very much so. And my children are now, thankfully, healthy, in their 20s, and very loving and communicate, and a beautiful relationship.
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah, it really was.
And it allows you a space to actually discover them.
Yeah. I used to hear people say to me, "Oh, hang on to this moment. It's like you want to keep them young." And I never felt that way. I loved discovering who they were, how they were changing and who they were becoming. It was just such an incredible adventure to be on with them. And I could never understand other parents that were like, no, keep them this age. I'm like, you're missing out, missing out rather on the beauty of discovering as they're discovering who they are. You get to discover who they are. So beautiful.
Absolutely. What an exploration.
Mm-hmm.
How fortunate we are to get to witness it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to freedom for a second. So I know you told me about what was some of the other people, how they experience freedom. I'd love to hear how you experience freedom.
How do I experience freedom? You know this, how it started with trust.
Mm-hmm.
That eventually turned into absolute surrendering. Absolute surrendering to the possibility of collaboration with life. Like having a quality of presence that allows you to read the moment, see what the moment needs from the impersonal,
mm-hmm.
and bring that, like if we were created the way we were created, it is because that is exactly how we need to show up in the world. And whatever needs to come through us, whatever creation asks of us, must come with exactly that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And so the answer to your question would be a lot less hesitation, a lot less doubt, a recognition that if I feel inspired to do something, I can trust that. Not necessarily the outcome it will bring, but I can trust the inspiration and the movement to follow that. Without hesitation, without needing to edit myself in the game, without needing to hide parts of it. So in a way, it has become an invitation to stop hiding, like really, really engage with life, really be present, really contribute, really collaborate, really live.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm hanging on every word. Yeah, beautiful. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. It's so interesting because when you were speaking, I was, freedom for me was knowing that I'm resilient, knowing that it doesn't matter what has happened in my life, I have always bounced back. That has given me the freedom to I often see it as, you see these trapeze artists sort of swinging and letting go of one thing and, grabbing the hands of another. And it's almost like this understanding has given me that safety net that I'm not afraid to fall. I'm not afraid to let go and reach for another thing and be suspended in air, not knowing what's going to happen. It's this beautiful feeling of exploration. But what I'm also hearing from what you were sharing was the freedom to show up fully as we are. No editing, no hiding, just embracing not just life, but who we are, how we manifest in this world of form.
Yes, the full Monty.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I've this terrible visual going on now, some naked trapeze artists.
But what you're saying is really interesting, Del, because you're talking about not being afraid, right, of what could happen. But at the same time, that implies not being afraid of what we can feel,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
being afraid of what we can think.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, like really expands life. Because when I am free to think and feel and experience anything, knowing that I am okay.
Yeah.
Not that I will be okay, that I am okay, even as I am feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely changes the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be, before coming across principles, I used to be what we called a shadow coach, about sort of embracing all the disowned aspects of ourselves. And so I've always for somebody that grew up a little bit shame-based, I loved the idea of just embracing everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, I always feel we would never have been created with the capacity to feel everything we can feel if any of it was wrong. We might not want to act out on everything we feel, but certainly to just have no judgment about whatever shows up.
Yeah, and isn't that love, Del?
Mm-hmm.
Allowing anything?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that freedom?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we are so free and so loved that the entire universe contemplates us in absolute respect. Never has the sky ripped open and a hand come out of it saying, that is not the right way to suffer, or that is not the right way to celebrate. You are allowed everything. You are allowed.
Wow.
That is love.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. And believe it or not, we've come to the end of our time, but I just think that's such a beautiful note to end on. I have that beautiful, beautiful feeling that we talk about. So
thank you so much for inviting me, Del. I really, really admire you very much.
Thank you so much. Same here. And hopefully we'll be starting to travel again soon, and I will cross paths as we normally do. But in the meantime, thank you again. That was so beautiful.
Thank you. Really, truly. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Take care. And you too. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're interested in learning more about my coaching and mentoring packages, please reach out to me at deladeyjones@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you.